What's going on, guys? Today, we're going to take a look at one of, if not the most insane free champion. It's also a mythical. You may have pulled him recently. Maybe you have had him for a while. I did my Frolny showcase recently and ended up kind of being an Embrys showcase because he is an absolute monster and one of my favorite champions. If he wasn't free, he would be one of my most wanted mythical champions. So we're going to go over his build, how I recommend setting him up, some details about his kit because there's a lot of nuance to this. Matter of fact, I did some Clan Siege videos a while back. I didn't know how to use him really, actually at all, not even just really. He ended up winning the fight, but I could have utilized him so much better. There's a lot of small complexities to his kit that once you use him, you'll start to catch on and learn when to do what stuff. But I think it all starts with having a good build. And this build is what I found to be my favorite and what I believe to be one of the best builds for him. He is only a 2-star blessing. That is huge because typically damage dealing focused champions really need a 4-star blessing to shine in in-game PvP. But for Embrys, he is doing insane damage without even having the 4-star blessing. It's not even including the relic I have because before recently, I didn't even have this specific relic equipped. But before we get into all those details, let's talk about his kit. So his A1 ability is an AoE attack, destroys each target's max HP by 3%. That's pretty big, especially considering the current landscape of the game has a lot of Marichkas, Galathirs, Nice, all these champions with huge max HP pools. Reducing those is very nice. However, he doesn't typically stay in his first form very long. This also increases the duration of one random debuff on all enemies by 1 turn. This effect cannot be resisted if they have necrosis stacks. Now, this is cool, mostly in PvE content, specifically Faction Wars, Curse City, potentially some dungeon wave clearing stuff if you're a little bit earlier in the game. Since he's free, you'll get him from Chimera, but typically if you're getting him, you've probably got most of your dungeon teams figured out anyways. But if you do need a good wave clear champion, Embrys could definitely be that champion. But typically this is more focused on Faction Wars, Curse City, and Arena, Live Arena, or Classic. His A2 skill places a True Fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn and a 50% decrease attack debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. These effects cannot be resisted if an enemy has necrosis. We keep seeing necrosis pop up. We'll take a look at this more in just a minute, but this also grants an extra turn. Typically, the enemies won't have necrosis, so this does need accuracy, but if they do have necrosis, then this can't be resisted. Now, his A3 ability is really the shining part of his kit before we ever get into the second form. This is an AoE attack, removes Stone Skin buffs and replaces them with True Fear. The Stone Skin removal does not need accuracy. However, it can be blocked by Lightning Cage. Lightning Cage has a chance, depending on the level, of protecting a buff. So if you try to swap it, it could protect the Stone Skin and not swap it. However, if they don't have Lightning Cage, you will guarantee the Stone Skin be removed. This is beyond insane. It is so strong. The True Fear portion of this, though, I believe can place Polymorph. The first portion does not place Polymorph. The Stone Skin Strip, no Polymorph chance. The True Fear, I believe, can place Polymorph. I've not noticed it happen, but I do know this does require accuracy. It gets resisted all the time, but the Stone Skin does come off. It also swaps block debuffs to block buffs. Also removes any buffs positively affecting stats. Increase attack becomes decrease attack, continuous heal and strengthen. They'll become heal reduction and weaken, respectively. Then at the end of all of that, we'll steal 5% of each target's turn meter for each buff converted into a debuff by this skill. Also decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 20%. This is something you have to be very careful with. If you were to go A2 extra turn into A3 and the enemy has a Marius, you're using the same build that I have, the Marius will counterattack you. He could potentially kill you. Hopefully he doesn't because you should have a lot of HP, but he could also place Enfeeble, which could make things a little bit weird if you're trying to swap into the other form. The biggest thing for Embrys with me is trying to get him into that second form so that he can have the revival and death if he's killed and also reflect some damage. But we'll get there in just a moment. So this effect is really cool. These effects cannot be resisted if the enemy has necrosis. Once again, this first portion, the Stone Skin Strip, the swapping, the replacing of the buff does not need accuracy whatsoever. Placing the debuff, however, does. Now his passive, whenever an enemy is killed, places 1 necrosis stack on all other enemies. Necrosis stacks cannot be resisted or blocked. No accuracy needed. Necrosis stacks can only be removed by reviving dead allies. This effect does not work against bosses or the minions. If multiple champions, only one will activate. At the start and end of this champion's turn, instantly activates any necrosis stacks on all enemies. This is something that I actually overlooked at the very beginning of using him. I mean, I overlooked a lot of his kit, but this is very cool because at the start and end of his turn, meaning if you use this, you get an extra turn, which I believe will be one necrosis proc at the beginning, extra turn, one at the end, one at the beginning, and then one at the end. So essentially, I believe like 4 necrosis procs, which necrosis, in case you don't know what it does, we scroll down here to the bottom, and necrosis is going to deal damage equal to 5% of the champion's max HP. But if you have 3 stacks of it, it's doing 15% of the damage, or damage equal to the enemy's max HP. Meaning if it's proccing multiple times, you're basically just killing the enemies from necrosis. So if you're able to switch to the second form, get some kills, not everybody's dying, you could always go back to that first form and then start proccing necrosis. It's kind of like, in my head, a poison activation skill. Very similar, but you can get a few activations of it. We'll try to test it out in some arena today as well. Now, moving over to his second form, this is where I'm building him for, and this is really where he is insanely strong, especially when you look at the current meta in the game. Marichka's, Galathir's, Nice, all these champions with revives, whether it's from their passives, actives, or whatever they want to do, because Nice is insane, well, this is going to limit the effectiveness of that. You'll also notice his damage does scale in accuracy. I want to go ahead and say that it doesn't scale very much. You can see all the multipliers over on the Hell Hades website, and the scaling from accuracy is very, very small. So when we talk about his build later, and you see that I'm not building with accuracy, I do know it scales with accuracy, but it's very little, and the benefits you get from accuracy, I feel, are just not really worth it, especially if you're not at 5-star blessing. 5-star blessing, yeah, I'll take the extra 100 accuracy or whatever it gives me from 5-star. That's crazy. I guess 90, 90, right? 75 plus 15, can't do math, 90. Yeah, that looks right. So either way, his A1 ability attacks one enemy, places an extra hit if the target has any necrosis stacks. Also, places block revive if this kills an enemy. If he has counterattack masteries, boom, you could be block reviving just on counterattacks. Then his A2 is an AoE attack. This is another place where accuracy comes into play. Deals double damage to enemies whose accuracy is lower than this champion's accuracy, or ignores 50% of each enemy's defense whose accuracy is equal to or higher than this champion's accuracy. Double damage is awesome. However, ignoring 50% of an enemy's defense is beyond insane. You will get more damage from ignoring 50% of an enemy's defense, especially when you pair it on top of things like Savage and things like Helm Smasher. So then you're getting kind of close to 100% defense ignore, and if you're not building with accuracy, this condition is going to be met more often than not. Then we have the A3 ability. The A3 swaps HP with an enemy. If they are lower HP than you, then it doesn't swap, you keep your HP, so don't worry about that. If the target's a boss, fully restores this champion's destroyed max HP and fully heals this champion instead. Each time this skill is used, increases this champion's ignored defense effect by 10% while in their alternate form. If you're doing long fights, you could get this to scale up all the way, have this to work as well, and you'll be ignoring 100% defense anyways. Makes Savage and things like that kind of useless, but until then, you're going to need Savage. And to be honest, I always just run Savage because fights never go long enough for me to swap so many times. And if they are going that long, your Embrys probably need some adjustment with his damage anyways, because that is an extremely long fight. Then we check out his passive. Okay, that also gives an extra turn. We forgot about that. The extra turn, so huge. And then his passive. When this champion dies, reflex damage equal to 50% of the fatal hit back to the attacker. This kills champions all the time. It's very cool. If he's the last champion alive and the enemy is, and the enemy kills you, you reflect the damage, you'll win the fight. Whenever an enemy is killed, places necrosis stack on all other enemies, can't be removed or blocked. We already know about this. Then the active effect. If this champion's about to get killed by a fatal hit, preempts that hit and instantly places block or revive on death on them for one turn before the damage is taken. That's very important because if he has block buffs on him, then he won't place revive on death and he won't revive. So unlike champions like Nice, where it doesn't matter, Embrys, you do have to be careful with that specific condition. That's his kit. So as for Embrys books, I would say the first form, if you're really low on books, does not need them. It ignores resistance, which we're not even building for accuracy anyways. So the cooldown's the only thing you'll really be benefiting from. But in the second form, I would book him. All of this is beneficial. All of this is boosting what you want. So you need 1, 3, 5. You need 5 books total. Get everything fully taken care of. And then, of course, if you can, book this first form, specifically the A2 and the A3. But if you're low, definitely book the second form. First form, not as big of a deal. Let's talk about how I'm actually going to build him. So we already addressed the accuracy stuff a little bit. My Embrys build is Stone Skin plus Savage, no accuracy, all out damage, as much HP as I can get, most importantly, faster than my other nukers. The speed I have on my Embrys may not be the speed you can hit on yours, but the speed I have on my nukers also is probably not the speed you have on yours. So while you look at this champion and see, okay, he has 308 speed, also wearing Crown of Corruption, that is not what you have to do. I would actually take my Sigfriend, who is kind of what I was speed tuning Embrys to, who is 301. I would actually lower Sigfriend's speed to like 280 if I didn't have Crown of Corruption to try to get Embrys to be faster than Sigfriend. Because opening with this A3 ability, stripping Stone Skin, no accuracy required, is massive for your nukers behind him. That's specifically if he's in a go first team. However, if you're in a go second team, it's not going to matter as much. You still want him really fast, but if you sit with your Stone Skin, then you're just going to switch to your other form once you get a turn, and everything's okay. Still, have him faster than your other nukers, but the enemy should ideally outrun all of their Stone Skin anyways before you ever get a turn, making it really easy to either A2, you don't have to worry about Wand of Submission, sending it back if you have Stone Skin. Polymorph could be an issue though, and then go into the A3, switching forms and then go into the next form and then pop off, do whatever you want from there. So with his build, right now, I'm sitting at 97,000 HP. I wish it was more, but for the speed he has, I'm not too upset with it. We also have limited crit damage and I don't have a 4-star blessing yet. We have 308 speed, just faster than my nukers, which is the biggest thing I'm looking for. We have 307% crit damage in the first form, 320% in the second form. Accuracy, you can see, it's basically nothing. We have 175 accuracy. Yeah, I'm not going to be landing this A2 ability really ever unless they have Necrosis. This A3 ability, I'm going to be stripping Stone Skin left and right. If they have Lightning Cage, accuracy wouldn't even make a difference anyways. So that's the build that I have for him. If you don't have Savage up to this level, you can use Instinct Gear, which is going to get you the defense ignore. It's going to get you the speed, going to get you all the extra damage stuff that you need to make this make sense. I value Stone Skin very highly. If you really wanted to make him fast, he does have good HP. You could drop the Stone Skin to have him fast. I just love the Stone Skin protection because if you're running a speed team in Live Arena and your Embrys is not in Stone Skin and they pick a Hegemon or a Cavalax, then all of a sudden you run the risk, since you don't have Stone Skin, of just getting nuked down. Even with 100,000 HP, you can just get erased. So I'm a huge fan of having Stone Skin on him. Your other 4-piece set here could be something different. If you wanted to run a Feral set, you could, but I would really focus on getting as much damage, ideally, with a defense ignore set that you can, while also being faster than your nukers. I would even consider slowing your nukers down a little bit to make him faster if you need that little extra gear. As for the relics for Embrys, and then we'll talk about the blessings. I think you already know which blessing I believe is the best. But as for the relics, of course, I have Crown of Corruption. I think this is probably just the best one for him. The wearer deals more damage and receives less damage when above 50% HP. When below 50%, wearer deals less damage and receives more damage. But remember, he has this HP swap anyway, so we should be able to get back above 50% HP to begin with. He's an HP-based champion, so this works out really well for him. But if you don't have Crown of Corruption, which is majority of players, I would say for a rare option, Malefic Talon is amazing. You have a chance of extra damage, but the biggest thing is we have crit damage and HP there. It is huge for him. If you have a little bit better stuff, don't go Cat's Gaze because it only works if they have higher max HP, and they're typically not going to. The next relic I would recommend, though, Wand of Submission is great for him, especially if you're running the True Fear and stuff, potential of getting Polymorph, just send it back. He won't be controlled as easily. Wand of Submission is really just a good catch-all relic for any champion looking to run it. I've seen Death Dealer Embrys ran as well, which with this one, you get the luxury of not having to build him with crit rate. However, I've gone against a lot of Embrys where I would just have my Commodus use a random skill like his A3 on the first form, which is just a little hit from a bomb champion who has no crit rate, basically kill the Embrys. This 200% more damage is huge. So you got to be very careful with this, and you have to plan your build accordingly. And I really recommend going very fast, very high speed if you're running the Death Dealer. But if I had this, I would very much consider throwing it over onto my Embrys. Other than that, really, I'd say those three are three or four. Crown of Corruption, we have Death Dealer, we have Wand of Submission, and then the Malefic Talon being my top options. If you had things like Stormcaller, you could throw this on there as well. This is just better on Mary's. So there's better options for some of them. The Covetous Passion is kind of like a Cat's Gaze, but doesn't have the condition of if they have higher max HP. You just have a buff at the start of the round. So there's a little bit of drawback to that. And it's attack plus crit damage. We don't get the extra HP there. So something worth considering. If you got a Crown of Corruption though, especially after the recent changes, just throw that on him. So now let's jump into the arena and do a few runs with him. We're almost in plat. I guess I lost some defense. No, I should have been in plat. Either way, let's jump in here. So I got two variations I want to share with you guys. The first one is going to be a speed variation, and the second one is going to be a go second. You can use him perfectly fine in either team. In the go second variation, he's actually going to be one of the fastest champs on this team. Actually, just the fastest, which is okay. He's going to be stripping the Stone Skin. It's not a huge deal. This is not a perfectly tuned team. Having like an Armons in here would be really cool, but I just didn't build them up. I just want to give an example. Pythion plus UDK is really cool. Plenty of revives. Big nukes from Wukong, but to be fair, Embrys is probably just going to do more damage. So this is a go second team there. We'll just try the speed team first. Essentially, all this speed team is a booster. I have Shoes in, a lockout champion, in my case, Yumiko. It could be a Fabian. I didn't want to use Fabian in case they had Stone Skin because he would be stripping it. I wanted to showcase Embrys stripping it, and then a damage dealer. The damage dealer can be whoever you want. I should have thrown in Iyasu because Iyasu's insane. There we go. Shuzin getting sheeped. Very cool stuff. And then the Stone Skin, Galathier definitely has more resistance than me, but it's a guaranteed strip. The debuff swap is not guaranteed. Rotos pops off because Embrys accidentally did too much damage. The downfall of Embrys, that's what it is. He did too much damage. We're going to swap forms here. Then we're just going to pop off. Let's go A3. I don't always go A3 to begin with. I typically try to save it a little bit. We're going to use this A2 now. I want enough damage to actually get close to killing somebody. Didn't quite do it. The Nice is going to do something here. If he kills me, remember, he's going to get the damage reflected. Rotos kills himself. I come back to life. Very, very nice. Now, I may end up dying here. They got rid of the necrosis stacks. We do end up dying here. Not a huge deal. The Georgid got just a simple counterattack from the Rotos because we boosted his damage. If I was to throw this, switch it out, Georgid, put in a... Let me see if my Iyasu is built currently. Yeah, he is. So let's actually use Iyasu. Iyasu is a fun champion. He's built pretty well, and a lot of people have been recommending him anyways. 251, perfect. And in Stone Skin. It won't be as big of a deal versus the Rotos doing the counterattack. Embrys just hit a little bit too hard with that A3. We got sheeped again, 100% sheep rate, but not on Embrys, because remember, the sheep will not proc on his A3, except for the True Fear. That has a chance, but we're getting resisted on that anyways, so it's not a huge deal. As for this, let's go ahead and kill this Rotos. Don't like him. We have Necrosis stack number 1. We're going to throw a block revive on the Nice. Nah, he ain't coming back. Stay down, buddy. We had 2 Necrosis stacks there. Now it's just 1. And then at this point, let's go ahead and watch Necrosis procs. So we procced 1 at the beginning, procced another one, 51, 51. So it was the end of the turn, and now it's the start of the turn. If I do this again, he'll proc another Necrosis stack, another activation of Necrosis, and they have more. So we're proccing a lot of Necrosis. It was 4 procs of Necrosis there, which is quite massive, to be honest. 4 Necrosis activations. If that was 3 stacks of it, it'd be 15% HP each and every time. Now, I'm going to swap forms. No Necrosis activation here. It's okay. We're going to just swap HP. Can't swap HP with that. But if we were in the start of the round and they had Stone Skin, I could swap HP through their Stone Skin, which is extremely cool. Let's use Iyasu to knock down that Rotos, and then Iyasu to knock down this Galathier maybe. Just kidding. Didn't quite work, but There we go. There's a good example of what can happen if your team's set up to do a little bit better. So before I jump into live arena, let's go look at some potential go second options for him. So this, we're going to use Python, UDK, Wukong, and Embrys. Is this the best setup? No. You may have some better setups for your team, but this is just the example I want to give. They're obviously going to lock me out. They're going to have a bunch of stuff. It'd be better if I had a champion to reset my skill cooldowns, possibly interrupt them, all this various stuff. But in this situation, this is just the best example. We protect my stone skin. Very nice. He has no stone skin. No reason to go A3. If they have no polymorph, I can just go A2 here. Play some True Fears potentially. Not a big deal if they don't land. They have no Marius. We switch forms, and then we just pop off with the A2. I could swap HP first or not worry about it. Either one's going to be fine. I'll probably get some kills here to begin with, so we'll just go A2. The Siegfried procs his stuff. Basically now, if he hits me, now I can swap HP with him. I can cleanse and do a little bit of healing here too. Okay, doesn't do that much damage, thankfully. We don't really need no continuous heals just yet. I want to show you guys how the HP swap stuff works. I kind of want to just kill him. There we go, and we're good to go. So if we save the HP swap for when it matters, it is a bit better. You can use it just to boost your damage. It depends on the team. If you're going against a Siegfried, it's not really any reason, if you're going to one-shot everybody else, to do the A3 at first, because Siegfried's just going to protect themselves anyways, right? Siegfried's just going to place the block damage. This team, there's no lightning cage. All the stone skin comes off. We do get the True Fear there, which is fine because he has not much resistance, so that makes sense why we landed that. We do have the downside now of being fairly exposed. Wukong is not built that fast. Unfortunately, gets block passived as well. We're going to go ahead and, well, not switch, unfortunately. We got True Fear, which locked me out, keeps me in this first form. So we're going to be chilling in this first form for just a little bit. We'll try to use some True Fear, no accuracy, not a big deal. We kill the Ronda. Still does a ton of damage even with just that A1 ability. We'll get a res eventually here. Or, better yet, we won't get a res. We'll just switch forms with Embrys and be able to start block reviving on their champions. His A1's hitting hard. This team, to be fair, is not built amazing. Block reviving on Marichka is so nice because now the revivers that they have can't bring her back and make the fight super annoying. Embrys is definitely one of the most difficult champs to deal with, for sure. 121,000, 125,000, big damage, kills most champs, but I think a lot of his utility really comes from the fact that he can just place block revive. All right, guys, so the first fight we're going against a fellow Embrys user. I thought about just leaving this out of the video, but since he's using Embrys, let's see how we could possibly counter him. Carnage is actually a really good answer for Embrys, but also Crixia. Crixia being Spirit. Not that she's going to lock him out of doing anything in his second form, but the first form, he's not going to be able to strip Stone Skin if he was to cut in. But her being Spirit Affinity means that she is not going to be hit as hard from Embrys, possibly. With Carnage, he's a huge, huge answer for Embrys, blocking his passives, blocking his actives, really just a top tier champion. In this case, we're just going to strip their abilities, get counterattacked by the Marius, and then I'll just place block buffs, because remember, Embrys in that second form is not going to be able to revive if he has block buffs anyways. And then we'll actually just go for a, let's think about this one. Iyasu, I don't use him a ton. Maybe we just go for a block revive on the Marius. Let's do that. There we go. He's dead. No revives come from him. And then we'll go for block actives, block passives, spread to the enemy Marichka, and we're looking pretty good. Iyasu is a monster of a champion. I didn't feel confident enough to use his A1 ability, though, which is really where things get cool. But either way, let's jump into the next one. All right, guys, so we got a fight against IB here. IB 456, 9,700 points in live arena. So let's play a little bit. We have a Embrys plus Carnage pick. Carnage is free, so is Embrys. They're both incredible champions. Carnage counters Embrys decent, being Spirit Affinity. You saw it in the last fight. So I do like to pick him up if I can. He also has a really nice speed aura, so for speed teams, works out excellent. We'll go with these two champions also. I really just want to showcase Embrys, though. So as long as we get a turn with Embrys, we're going to be good to go. Live Arena sometimes makes that a little bit difficult. We throw my shoes in. Queen of Hearts could be annoying, but Fabian locking out, stripping True Fears is probably the most annoying, to be honest. The only buff champion I have is Shuzin. We have 3 lightning cages, 4, 5, 6 stone skins. So 7, 8, 9. Actually, we will have 10 buffs. So the Queen of Hearts would cut in on me, but she may not actually steal anything. So we'll see what happens here. Maybe I could just go. No, there's a lot of stuff I could do here. We could YOLO and hopefully not get stripped with the Embrys play. Well, let's go for it. Let's YOLO it. Of course, she's going to get an ally attack here, or strip, or ally attack, whichever one. The ally attack being a useless idea. But Embrys, of course, resists that because we have Lightning Cage. We switch forms. This would be a good time to go for the A2, the swap, because there's no reason not to do it. And then A2, boom, sorry, A3 swap is what I meant to say. Narcisse gets the Necrosis, 3 stacks, and he dies. Embrys just does such insane damage. Yeah, I do have Crown of Corruption on him. We have more damage boosted from some of the gemstones, I believe. A little bit more damage mitigation. But even without the Crown of Corruption, I was using him just as much. Actually, until, I guess, last week, I wasn't even using him with Crown of Corruption anyways. The Crown does help me get a bit more speed, 18 extra speed. It is a huge help in that regard. But Malefic Talon, Wand of Submission, the Covetous Passion, you probably don't have that, but another very solid option. So for relics, just throw those on him. He can be very, very powerful. So we'll throw these 2 in here again to go ahead and try to get them showcased. Very good duo here. It takes away one of your biggest counters because Carnage he's just scary. The block passives, block actives is very harmful for Embrys. And if we can just get rid of that, it's going to be a lot better, right? So then we'll throw in these 2. You know what? Maybe even get a little bit crazy and throw in an Iyasu here at the end. I want to try him out some more, though. I want to try Iyasu out some more because people have been asking a lot about him. So I want to make sure we get some good testing for him. I didn't use him a lot during the season because it was a bit too difficult to get him to be consistent there. Give this a shot, though. Now, we don't have any answer for bombs, so we'll get rid of the bomber. Even if they are faster, that's okay. The Embrys being bombed by Commodus, we have a slight advantage in the fact that we're Force Affinity. He could miss the bombs. It's always a possibility, but I don't really want to run the risk of that. He got rid of the Iyasu, which I'm very surprised. Embrys is definitely the champion who I'd recommend getting rid of. Now here, let's there's no real reason to strip the Stone Skin necessarily. I could go for this A3 and lock everybody out because Crixia should be speed tuned fine. Yeah. So we lock everybody out. There's no real reason to do the Stone Skin strip. If I do this, could I kill anybody? Maybe. Let's try it. We'll strip it from the Pythion, of course. We'll go for a kill on the Pythion, assuming he doesn't have Polymorph. Got some Necrosis stacks. This is what I wanted to show. So we activated some Necrosis. We'll activate some more Necrosis. 2 stacks there. And then let's just go for an A1. We'll do another one at the end of the turn. So there we go. More Necrosis, just proccing all over the place. That is really cool to see. I want to try to do a little bit more here. Let's go against a team that I was saying he's really good against. A team like this, kind of. So we're going to go, instead of the previous examples, we're going to go with Shuzin. We can go Crixia. We can go Carnage. This is kind of like a team I was running. Basically, the Nell is going to be a problem, of course, but we can quickly get rid of all the Stone Skin shenanigans. We're going to boost like this. Crixia, we're going to attempt to strip. If she doesn't strip, not a big deal, because Embrys is right here to do the stripping. We strip it from everybody, and then Carnage comes in, and of course, we need the increased accuracy because we're probably not going to place it on the Nell, but maybe we get block actives. That's kind of cool. We didn't get no spreads or anything like that, unfortunately. Block actives on him would have been awesome. We'll try this one more time if we fail this fight, which probably will, unfortunately. We do have Necrosis stacks spreading. A1 hitting, pretty decent. Unfortunately, the Nice is probably going to do a little bit of damage to me. They all have block actives, though, which is really cool. So we could definitely kill some champs here. I don't want to just yet. I'd rather have Embrys blocking actives, honestly. Okay, well, we got some more stuff spreading. Some champions coming back. It's not the right way to do it. We're going to go A1. We got dropped. Okay, so we're going to try this again. This time, we're going to hopefully place this stuff correctly, though. Against Cryptic. All right, so I want to try a few higher-end teams. We haven't really got a full, solid showcase with them, I don't believe. Carnage is going to be weak affinity against a few of these champions. But if we could get some of his abilities placed, it'd be very powerful. Now, Crixia, she stripped the Nell. But Carnage, or Embrys, he can strip the Nice, guaranteed. And the Galathier, well, the Lightning Cage protected him. So here, we're going to try and block passives and spread. We spread the block passives, which is pretty huge, honestly. Probably the most important thing for a lot of these champions to survive is their block passives. Unfortunately, we got the Galathier messing me up, switching forms, doing block actives on me. It's not fun to deal with whatsoever. And may not be able to do a whole lot here because I can't switch my daggone forms. Obviously, block actives is a big deal for Embrys as well. It messes up most champs, though. So if Shuzin takes a turn, we're good. We're ready to go, basically. Here we go. So Embrys boosts. We could place some more activations on the Necrosis here. No problem. They have no polymorphs across their team, so might as well, right? Wand of Submission could be reflected. That is something worth considering. But at this point, we can just switch forms. We can block Revive on the Nice. Definitely going to do enough damage to kill him. He can't switch because his passive is blocked from the Carnage before anyways. Then here, we're back to Embrys. Boom. Block Revive on the Galathier. And then we have Marichka and Nell remaining. It's not really that big of a threat. Marichka, doesn't really matter if we block Revive on that. This could be bad if I boosted him because her passive, but we'll just kill her. 3 stacks of Necrosis anyways. Not a problem. Now let's come down here and try some other kind of crazy teams. Obviously, Stoneskin, we can deal with this fine. Stoneskin versus Calvalax, no problem, basically. If we get enough Necrosis on Siegfried, he won't do his block damage either, which is pretty sweet. So we'll go ahead and use his A3 ability, strip that, and then we'll actually just, there we go, Carnage versus Embrys, you already see it. We'll go for this, kill the Siegfried, hopefully. There we go. They both just die. Now, granted, he didn't proc his passive anyways because it was blocked, but he wouldn't have procced it to begin with. I'll give you guys another example here. We'll go against the chicken team. Big Fish himself. Let's try this one. Here, you can use the A3. The A3 will be valuable. It's not always valuable depending on how much stone skin they have. Here, it's okay, though. We'll strip it from Siegfried and the chicken. And we'll just go for a kill on... I don't really want to kill Siegfried. I just want to get him low. There we go. That's actually perfect amount of HP. Love to see that. And then here, we'll just extra turn. Activation. Okay, I need a little bit more HP because I won't have the extra activation there, unfortunately. So we'll just switch forms and go for the block revive on the Embrys with aspect of Siroth, apparently. In a second, we'll do something else. Obviously, we're starting to get some things popping off. Block is passive over there. Obviously, we weren't able to do what I was hoping to do there because Siegfried was just a little bit too high of HP, but it would not have procced his passive to begin with. Trust me, I've gone against a lot of players where that happened, and passives did not proc on my Siegfried, and he just died. We can try it against this team, possibly. Maybe faster than me, though. I'm not for sure. It's going to be a fine line between killing Siegfried and keeping him alive. So here, we're going to try to not kill him. We didn't kill him. Fantastic. And then everybody's locked out. So here, we're just going to... There we go. Kill her. And then we can try to kill him. Kill him. Very nice. And then we will not kill her, hopefully. There we go. Did not kill her. And Necrosis procs. And then he switches... We do this, he's dead. There we go. Very nice. So he did trigger his passive to swap forms, but it did not, he did not do any block damage, of course. Obviously, it's not how his passive actually works. It's a little bit different than that. It should have killed him, but the the Yumiko died, or sorry, the Shuzin died, unfortunately, before he did. So it was a little bit different there. This team, another great example. We're going to try and just strip all the stone skin from everybody. Boom. No more stone skin on anybody. And then Carnage comes in, gets sheeped, get wrecked. But don't worry, because we got our dude here. If they have no polymorph, I could throw this out there. I don't have accuracy, so maybe I don't get anything bad happen to me anyways. Took a lot of damage there for some reason. Oh, because then the Nell. But don't worry, because now I can just swap HP with anybody here who I want. Now the Nice has lower HP. If I had Necrosis ready, definitely be a great time to swap or to do A2 on him or A1. So we do the double hit. There's no Necrosis, so it's just going to be a single hit. But I could go for a kill on the Fabian. Definitely could do that. Go for a kill on the Siphi. Doesn't really matter. Or I could just go for a kill on everybody. Let's just do that. Pretty simple and easy stuff. He switches. 3 stacks of Necrosis. Not quite enough to do the damage to him, unfortunately. But he does have 3 stacks of Necrosis. So once he comes out of block damage, it could be bad news for our dude Nice over there. But then again, to be fair, Nice is just an insane champion all the time anyways. So we have 1 champion down permanently. 2 champions down permanently. Oh, I got some champs going down. Not a big deal because now we're just going to swap HP. Maybe. Actually, don't really need it. We'll just go A2. No need to swap HP when he's doing crazy amounts of damage anyways, right? Guys, with that said, thank you all very much for watching. I hope this helps you out in building your Embrys. Awesome champion. Good luck, and I'll catch you all in the next one.